Oh yeah, STDs. Americans are the biggest sluts in the civilized world. No kidding. Per 100,000 people, we have more diseases than the Canadians, Denmark, Russia, you name it. We are the sluttiest. Absolute sluttiest. That really surprised me. I thought it'd be another nation, but I'm not going to say which one. Actually, I was between two. And this isn't about Americans being sluts. If you want to go out and infect each other, in a lot of ways, I really don't care. I'm not one of these flesh people. I'm part of the ministry of marijuana. I could care less about your slutdom-ness. But there's some innocent victims out there. And these innocent victims could easily have been one of my children. You know? Or my grandkids. And I'm really thinking of Ryan White and Kimberly Bergalis. Now Ryan, he died of hemophilia, but he caught AIDS from the hemophilia. But Kimberly Bergalis here, a virgin who caught AIDS from her dentist. From her dentist. Goes that whole honesty thing, doesn't it? Neither Ryan nor Kimberly, to my knowledge, ever screwed anybody. But they got totally screwed. Yeah, if honesty worked, if honesty really worked, neither one of these people would have been screwed over with AIDS. They would still be with us today. And that goes to the healthcare profession. And Kimberly Bergalis, her dentist dies 3 months later. Didn't give a rat's ass about her. Well, Kimberly and Ryan and all the rest of you innocent victim children, because there's a lot that are going through human experimentation right now under various departments of social and health services. We're out to rescue you. We're out to rescue you from this. Okay. In 2004, the study went $6.5 billion, as we were talking about earlier. The study went $6.5 billion for STD care, 15 to 24-year youngs. Now we're looking for the real numbers. They grouped HIV with HPV, which anybody, well, pretty much anybody, I'm sure people with HIV that have HPV would disagree, but other than that, the vast majority of people, I'm telling you, with HPV that have cotton warts before are not dying of AIDS. And it's just completely unfair. And to say they're dying of cancer too, what you're telling me now is cancer is contagious? And that you have a cure for it, just take this shot? I can't believe the British Parliament bought into that. Had everybody does. So anyway, what they know is it only costs $27. $27 to freeze, burn, whatever, treat the male HPV. $1,228 for females, understanding they have some tubing down there. So if you were to look at it for actual numbers, based on their numbers, it only come to 167,400,000 out of that 6.5 billion to actually treat the warts. 74%, of course, going to the females once again. And that report claimed 2.8 billion for warts specifically. It decided to break it down. It's one of those reports, once again, where the guy or gal, whoever the hell wrote it, took a bunch of other reports and crammed it in as their own and called it their own. So we had to take it and really, work on it because it's considered a government report. 2.7 billion was to follow up abnormal pap smears. I can't really say it's a government report. I shouldn't have said that. 2.7 billion was to follow up on abnormal pap smears. We're going to really get into this later on in the Gifts of God, and we're going to get to the Registry of Active Researchers. 108.3 million for invasive cervical cancer treatment. Once again, they're trying to group HPV in with cancer. They're saying that venereal warts causes cancer, particularly in women, and therefore the women should be required by law to take these shots starting at childhood age in schools. Anything to sell you dope, huh? Especially dope you don't need. Only 123.9 million actually went for the treatment of warts in females, leaving 62 million for the treatment of warts in males. Out of that 2.8 billion in total annual expenses. You see that? They're ripping you off. They're totally ripping you off. Here's how bad they're ripping you off. 2.8 billion to to treat females for HPV. 2.7 billion of that for pap smears, leaves 100 million. 108.3 million though for invasive cervical cancer treatment, which now leaves them at a negative 8.9 million a year. And then you take another 123 away for the actual treatment of the warts, puts them at another negative 132.8 million a year. And this is their reports. The report claimed 90% of the 6.5 billion actually went to treat HPV and or AIDS for 15 to 24-year-olds, which comes out 15 to 24-year-olds that either have AIDS or HPV, 5.85 billion. Their numbers were massively ambiguous. Having to try to recrunch this back in and forth, I couldn't tell if it was coming out at 2.8 or 2.862 billion on HPV alone, so I went with the latter, and we took the 2.862 billion for HPV equals 2.988 billion or 2.988 billion for HIV annually for kids 15 to 24 years old. Now, we've spent a lot of money on AIDS. Tens of millions of people have died from AIDS, including here in America, including Ryan White and Kimberly Bergalis. All of it would have been avoidable if we would have just quarantined this aggressive, highly contagious disease in the first place. Additionally, a lot of it would have been avoidable if there was informed consent. Kimberly Bergalis would be alive today because she would have had informed consent. Her right to know would have been satisfied, and therefore she would have known if her doctor was contagious or not. In all cases, and this is what we're really going to go through here in the PAPA, and it's going to go to the roar, people with contagious diseases must be isolated in respect towards when they're doing their prostitution services with each other. And through the roar, we're not only going to isolate them, but we're going to be able, and we're going to do it with dignity. It's very important that it's done with dignity. You know, these people are normal citizens. They walk around every day. They do their thing based on laws. So when they're having their little interactions and stuff, we really don't care what their names are. Once again, they're going to have secret identities and everything. We don't give a squat what their names are per se, unless they're contagious. And then we're going to follow their progress. We're going to do our best to develop treatments for them. And I'm telling you right now, with the AIDS people will tell you this is a bunch of crap too. A, and B, they would stand in line, a lot of them, for much of the experimental treatments out there. C, they would tell you there is nothing glamorous about having AIDS. Nothing. They're dying. These people are dying, and a lot of them, I bet the vast majority of them, don't have a clue who infected them. At least in this way, we're going to get a grip on it. We might not take total control, but we'll get a grip. And we'll also get a grip on all the BS coming with the numbers. We're going to get a grip on isolating things, not looping them in together so that we can sell more potential cancer cures to children through elementary schools via politicians and law. That was a bunch of hooey, and that's the exact kind of stuff I'm talking about. The drug companies are out of control. They're out of control. I am shocked that Congress actually didn't force it down our throats. Believe that one or not. Because normally they would have sold us out. In this case, they actually did a halfway good thing. They should have ran the jerks out of town. So we're going to get a control on the cost. We're going to get a control on figuring out who is where and doing what with who. And we're going to get the kids out of the equation as soon as possible. And yes, from now on, all patients have a right to informed consent. I don't care if it's their nurse, their doctor, whatever. If that person is contagious, the subject, the patient has a right to know, you know?